Aloha, mamas, and welcome back to another life chat here at the Mama Mindset podcast. I'm so honored, as always, to get to spend this time with you and to have the opportunity, thanks to you and to me and my bravery, sitting down here for myself, even to come here in complete vulnerability and authenticity and not have anything scripted or any expectations upon this time, but to come and be together and in that real sense of vulnerability, move forward in a way that is transformative for all of us. That is truly my intention here. And I am so grateful for your time and your willingness to be vulnerable in this space as well. One thing I wanted to talk about that just popped into my mind is that I have gotten in, and I'm trying to still get in the habit of asking people, instead of what do you do, I like to ask, what do you love? I think that narrative, especially for mamas and myself, around what do you do can be really triggering and bring up kind of some feelings around our worth and societal patterns and where we think we should fall. And again, should think, right? There's the should again, that disempowering energy. And then we feel this need to go, or at least I do, at least in my experience, to go into this explanation about where we've been and maybe what we've done and where we might be going in the future. For me, it might be talking about my career clinically as a pediatrician and opportunities that have arisen or are coming up in the future, instead of just sinking into that energy which sustains me and fulfills me and talking about the things which really light my soul on fire, coming and doing a Mama Mindset podcast, writing, journaling, moving my body in a way that matters to me and that feels reverent. Spending time with my family, playing with my babies. Those are the things I love, doing yoga, going and getting a massage once every blue moon. I actually got one yesterday for the first time in over 2 years. And it was so nice and wonderful, that healing touch of another human. And that for me, it's just so inspiring and transcending. And even though it was in a mask, it was still really wonderful, and highly recommend that we carve out that. Sorry. Told you to be vulnerable. My babies are in bed and here I am. 4 Oreos later from the fridge. But I think that there's something to this, sitting down in our thoughts with ourselves and asking people, what do you love? Instead of what do you do? And if you think about it, really, we come from a place where we go from high school and it's that question of what these next level questions for the next stage of your life and what expectations you feel that you need to fall in line for. In high school, it's something around, where are you going to college, or what's next for you? And then in college, it's, what are you going to major in? And then as you're nearing the end of your college career and your college years, it's where are you going to work, or where are you going to live, or what are you going to do next? And then it may be somewhere around, when are you going to settle down with a partner, or get married, or have a family? And then once you do get married, when are you going to have a family? And then when are you going to have your next baby? And it's these perpetuating forward questions, which are seemingly well-meaning when people ask them. But I think it really robs us of a genuine exchange with each other, because we have these prepared answers, or if we're not prepared to answer, we do some kind of stall tactic and stay shallow in the conversation. For me, we had our daughter 7 years after we got married. And so I encountered a lot of questions around, when are you going to have a baby? Or even patients telling me not to wait too long. I think it can happen to women in medicine or women in other careers, or for a lot of reasons, women at home that maybe had to deal with different issues related to infertility, or they chose to postpone having a family. And for all of those reasons are valid in your story. And it was always a little triggering, I think, for me, before I became really just comfortable in my own skin and comfortable with my own timeline, to marinate and answer those questions. And going back even further to high school and college, it was, I wanted to have that answer prepared for where I was going to college. And then it was medical school or just some form of that after. And I think we derive a lot of comfort by having a prepared answer for those scenarios and those situations. And I think there's a real invitation into, can we be comfortable with not having a prepared answer, or can we go past that discomfort from a social standpoint and that restlessness that we may feel in that moment to be true to ourselves and what we're being guided to say internally, or what matters to you. Give yourself a pass to answering the questions, or you could reflect it back to them. Thank you so much for asking. And thank you for caring about this. I'm still letting my own timeline sort itself out, or whatever it may be. I think that I'm just challenging us to kind of confront some of these scenarios, because I think by the time we become mamas, as the feminine energy in us is so strong, but we've also learned how to adapt and exist within the masculine energy in life, which directs things more around concrete answers and success in various realms. And that's not wrong. It's just something that we've learned to live within and function within and thrive within even. I think that we're ready, our conscious level as women in this day and age, to really own and claim that feminine energy, which makes us strong and soft at the same time. It makes us incredibly powerful and peaceful. It's this beautiful dichotomy that is available to us. It's this energy that's home within us. And we could start practicing that on each other. So next time you see a mama or a friend that you know, or maybe don't know, asking them what they love instead of what they do, or how they're doing, and really hold space for their answer. Kind of, we were talking about that in the last live chat we had together, was one way to show vulnerability and I think move ourselves forward as women, is this concept of holding space for each other. So vulnerability could be telling our life story. It could be telling your birth story to another mama, or how you're doing, or storytelling something in your life. Or it could be asking a question and being willing to take that vulnerability, not knowing something, and dropping the script for yourself and the narrative that you need to know everything, because we know that's a limiting belief. We know that holds us back, and we know that isolates us. And it also robs other mamas of a chance to bond with us and intervene and add their knowledge to our lives. So, and I think the third way to show vulnerability is to truly ask a question and be willing and actually want to stay in that space and hear the answer from that mom, and hold compassion and empathy for her. Radical compassion. For me, radical compassion is this concept and idea that we are safe and able to take on somebody else's story, whatever that might be, whatever emotional turbulence they might be dealing with their life. You're safe to hear what they have to say, and you're okay in your own container, in your own vessel, and you're still able to hold space and be there for them, and reflect for them, and empathize for them, and validate them for what they may be going through, whatever trauma they may be processing. And that takes some time and some patience with yourself and some belief in yourself to come to that place. For me, it took many years clinically working with mamas and just different scenarios that were very heavy. And over time, I trusted myself more and more that I am gifted to be in those moments. I am made as a human to hold space for mamas in all times of joy, of triumph, of grief, of loss, all of it. And I'm so honored in all of those sacred times to be able to bond and to be invited really into that sacred space. And so when a fellow mama, a fellow woman really invites you in, and you're going beyond the surface level of talking, that's fulfilling. That's a human interaction worth having. And that's the time when you choose to lean into your vulnerability and really have ripples upon that other woman in mama's life that you may be even unaware of. But that's the invitation. And that's what this is all about, and kind of what I wanted to life chat about today is that we have this opportunity to take things beyond the surface. And I think it starts sometimes with questions, changing the patterning that we've been taught instead of what do you do or how are you? Maybe it's how can I help you today? Or is there some way that would be impactful for me to serve you in your life right now? Or what are you loving? What are you wanting to manifest in your life this year? Some variation of question that comes organically from you. Mix it up. Like questions are fun and they can be inviting and a portal into the next phase of intimacy with someone, yourself or others in your life. And I really have been called this week and thinking about the mamas around the world that are going through various things and the inflammation that we're all taking on with the news around the world. This concept and this idea has really been gaining Mamamentum in my mind, that we're all Mombassadors. We're all ambassadors for mamas around the world, the mamas next door, the mamas in our neighborhood, the mamas we see out and about, the grocery store, and our, in our boardroom meetings, in our offices, at the fields where our children are playing sports, at the airport, or those we may interact with online, or those we may not have the opportunity to interact with, what we still feel this community with, whether they're half a world away. We have common shared experience in motherhood. We have a sacred bond. We were born into it. Our DNA is intertwined in the way that our artistic and creative minds work as mamas, and that mama tuition that we have, that vertical alignment with the sense of self and who we are and our purpose as human beings, as visionaries. That gift pervades all, I believe, geographical boundaries, cultural boundaries, time zones, any of it. It's all available to us. And so this concept of being ambassadors is showing up, holding space, and getting vulnerable for other mamas, on behalf of other mamas, what they might be going through. It could be a postpartum mama that that is having a delightful postpartum period. It could be a postpartum mama that that is struggling with her emotions and all of the hormonal cascade that happens in the postpartum period. It could be your compassion for a mama who is in a country that is undergoing safety concerns, and she has either chosen to stay with her children there, or she has chosen to leave everything that she knew and left behind all of it and started a new chapter somewhere else. And she's in a time of transition. We feel this connection. We do when we watch things. And I think when we're shown images of other mamas around the world mothering their children, we feel this sense of humanity, this sense of connectedness, this sense of compassion and empathy. And that's because we're made of the same cloth, that we are all part of the same fabric, and we are all mothering in the best way that we know how. And we all have this chance to be Mombassadors. And that is so powerful, so magnetic, and so transforming. And I think how it looks on an everyday basis is just showing up as yourself, filling your own love cup and your own recipe, whatever that looks like for you, of nourishing your own soul so that you can continue to shine out. You do feel that safety within your own home, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, so that you can be a Mombassador for other mamas. And you can believe that your impact goes well beyond your home. And it does. It absolutely does. This is so powerful for me to talk about, because I actually wrote my last blog on mamamindset.com about momplomacy. Is a sort of a variant on this theme of mom diplomacy, where I feel that the power of mamas, of women, of females is this incredible culmination of energy and ideas and love and empathy and resilience in the face of whatever we endure and persevere in our own lives. And we have this ability to This is another common phrase along the lines we kind of opened up our life chat with today. Social pattern is societal patterning, and just different phrases that are dropped in our lives and minds that we might just regurgitate. And one of them that hasn't sat well with me lately, that I've challenged myself with on, is the phrase, I can't imagine. I can't imagine what you're going through. I can't imagine how it would feel to this. I can't imagine. And we throw that out, and it isn't, I believe that it isn't said with any kind of malice, but really that phrase, when you break it down, it's a decision and a choice not to imagine. And automatically, I think that inserts a distance between you and whoever you're speaking with or dialoguing with, because you're telling them, I can't and I won't imagine what you're going through. So it isolates whoever that mama is or a person is in their own circumstances. And they're kind of like, okay, well, I'm over here and you're over here, and thanks for that. It's like a flat line on the conversation. And so I want to challenge us, because you are capable and you have the capacity and you have the compassion, you have the empathy, and you have the creativity to imagine what that person is going through. So allow yourself to imagine. You are safe to imagine what they're going through. And when you choose to do that, you're choosing to imagine walking in their shoes or holding a baby and being in their situation. That conveys to that other person that they matter, that you're validating them, and that you want to be on that vibe and that wavelength with them. And that is so healing, whether or not you're anywhere close to them or in their situation. I think that willingness to cross those boundaries, to get uncomfortable, is so powerful. So that's a choice we can make. And the next time we're in a situation, try to catch yourself when you want to go down or you kind of just automatically go along the line of, I can't imagine. Change, pivot, and say, I can imagine, or I imagine that it would be so challenging, or how is it in your current circumstances, and see where it leads you in the conversation, and how much intimacy it affords you, and how powerful it might be for that mama to see herself in the mirror that you're willing to hold up for her, as she maybe has an emotional catharsis of what she is going through, because you were willing to imagine. So that's a gift you can give someone else, and a gift that you will receive from other mamas. And that's being a Mombassador. That's showing up and holding space for another mama. That's being vulnerable. And that is how we are going to continue to transform the world and each other, and make our neighborhoods and schools and lives better, and also enhance our children's health, because when they see us being vulnerable and emotional and spiritually grounded, and truly caring and connecting with other people, modeling for them what empathy and compassion looks like, that builds emotionally resilient humans. And that is our ultimate goal, is for our children to be creative and resilient and persevere through the trials and storms that we know life brings. This life will bring pain. I do believe that, and we can get into this more another time, but see, this is why I love having these life chats, is these ideas keep rolling. I do believe there's a difference between pain and suffering. So when you come, because you will, or when I come to a situation in life where there's a trial or a situation that's traumatic, or something that we're going through that's hard, that's challenging, let's own that. Let's claim that. We don't have to sugarcoat it, or we can claim that this is hard. This is really challenging. This is really trying for me. In those moments, when you cultivate that sense of radical compassion, you will validate the emotions you're feeling. And in that sense of validation, you start to feel that emotional safety, that coming home to yourself. And you can choose for it to be a time of suffering for you. And you can, in it, choosing that path is going to be one more of victimhood and in suffering. Or you can choose clean pain, which again, it's not negating that you're not going through some pain, because that is challenging and it is painful in various ways. But what I mean by clean pain is, it can be a portal, it can be a transcending experience where you do cultivate your resilience. You learn a little bit more about how strong you are. You learn a little bit more about yourself and how you handle adversity. And you're able to show that to your children and the people around you. You're able to ask for help. You're able to be vulnerable. You're able to open up about what you're going through. You don't isolate yourself and seclude yourself from the outside world. You reach out, you say, hey, I'm struggling with this. This is how I feel. And you own and claim and validate yourself, and that you do want to move forward. And so I think that's just a really important distinction in life, that we get to choose whether we ever suffer again or not. So the next time you come to a fork in the road where there's something going on in your life that's a storm, that's traumatic, that's challenging, see if you can examine where you are in it. Sometimes you need to take that bird's eye view where you take yourself out of the circumstances a little bit, write about it or walk it out, or whatever mode might be reflective for you, and see if you can choose to cultivate resilience and clean pain and validate all the emotions that you're going through and all the ways those emotions are for you and your teachers, and what kind of vulnerability you can cultivate in that season, rather than suffer and have this prolonged period of maybe isolation and pain, and pain that's not clean pain, but the suffering path where you're more of the victim of it and you're just trying to survive it. So I think that's the difference between surviving and thriving in seasons of challenge and seasons of trauma and seasons of adversity, which we will all go through. I really always loved the quote growing up: adversity causes some to break and others to break records. And I think that just extrapolates more about how we will face adversity. We're promised that in this life. We'll face various forms of persecution and people disappointing us, or people hurting us, or whatever we portray them, perceive it as, betraying us or hurting us. And again, I think it's true that hurt people, and we still can put up sexy boundaries around the way we allow people to treat us. And I do think there's something to, we train people the way we want to be treated. And as a former and recovering people pleaser for the rest of my life, I've become and cultivate a lot of awareness around this topic. But I think having compassion for people when they do hurt us, and exploring our own expectations for maybe what we put on the scenario. I think a lot of times there's a lot to this concept of us creating manuals of how we think people should treat us. And nobody ever reads those manuals because you're the one that wrote it and you didn't publish it. And you didn't go line by line with someone that was like, when I invite you to this party, this is my expectation on it. And a lot of interpersonal dynamics or disagreements or tension kind of boils down to someone who didn't read your manual and your expectations. And so kind of owning that and having that personal introspection is super helpful, I think. And so sometimes I can get on these fun little tangents and deviants, and this is because we're basically on the phone. I feel like we're on the phone right now, just FaceTiming, except it's just me here. You might be in your car driving right now. I imagine you are coming home from your long day, or you just went out to the store. Maybe you're in the kitchen whipping up some creative culinary masterpiece, or you're stealing a couple minutes and you're in the backyard, or you are on a power walk right now, or maybe what else could you be doing? I mean, you could be doing any number of things because you are a powerful mama, and it's fun for me to imagine. I can imagine what you're doing right now. See, there we go. How we use that. So mama, as a Mombassador, I can't wait to see what you do next. I want us to really tap into this infinite potential, infinite energy that is divinely dropped into our DNA of compassion, of empathy for other women. And so I want to challenge me and all of us to pivot from this energy of like, I wish I could do something more. I wish I could help. You can, you are, just because you are who you are. So show up every day for yourself, show up for the mamas that are serendipitously and divinely placed into your presence and that you meet around your neighborhood, around your community, in your travels, through your children, through your spouses and your partners, however you're meeting other women in your life, show up for them, be a Mombassador, see the ripples, see where that leads, and imagine what these women are going through. Allow yourself to imagine what other people are experiencing, and follow your intuition. If it is you want to email an organization online that works with mamas in a different country, or follow that gut instinct, because you matter. You make a difference. Your ideas are unique and they're your own. And Mama Mindset is all about believing in you and harnessing that amazing creative passions and dreams that have been divinely dropped into you, and encouraging you to pursue and act upon those, because those are your North Star. That is your inner compass talking to you. That is your future self guiding you, and learning to validate all of those ideas which pop into your head and which can only be brought to life by you, because that idea was given to you. And learning not to mute yourself anymore, and to let those limiting beliefs, just releasing all those limiting beliefs and stories that you have to do XYZ before you could have fun or do that idea. Just do it. Act upon those fun impulses. And if it involves empathy and communicating with other moms and validating other people, then absolutely 100% you will make this world a better place. And it will be fun acting upon that and seeing where it leads you. So I am so excited to see what we all, as Mombassadors in our Momplomacy giant round table that is as big as all these countries around the world, we're all sitting down to our individual and collective seats here, and we're all putting out that feminine energy, which is strong and soft, powerful and peaceful. And it just is this divine dichotomy of emotions and power. And together, I know we can change the world, because I know we're doing it inside the walls of our own home. And I know that we are growing braver and more courageous to do it outside the walls of our home too. So thank you so much for tuning into this second episode of Mama Mindset, this live chat, and for allowing me the honor of coming into those beautiful mama neurons and all of the ideas that I hope that this has lit up in your brain. I would love to hear more from you. You can email me as always at aloha@mamamindset.com, or visit me also at www.mamamindset.com, where you can sign up for weekly waves, which again they surf in your inbox, sometimes weekly, sometimes not, as a total honest disclosure. But I am living more and more into my vulnerability and into my genius zone, which is empowering you and empowering myself and seeing where all of this leads. So aloha, mama, have a beautiful day. I am imagining everything that's going on in your life, and I look forward to hearing how you have imagined and empowered yourself to be vulnerable with other mamas as the Mombassador and visionary that you are. Aloha.